Oh boy! In this episode, I'm going to review Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Ho
Welcome to my review of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs from 1937. Or The Problem with Snow White 2025 from A to Zegler. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for clicking on my video.
Time is coming, it's too late now to rewind. So let it go and open up your mind.
Hello world! I'm Chris Maitini, aka Mr. FLIXTER!
Mr. FLIXTER!
So, this is gonna be a spoiler review. The fairy tale of German origins is about a 14-year-old princess who flees from her wicked stepmother into a dark forest, where she finds refuge with 7 dwarfs. It's being made into a live-action film. Is nothing sacred? As you can tell, I'm livid.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
So, I'm analyzing the classic Disney animated film that set the stage for feature-length animation as we know it, despite the new remake. That's right. I'm going to review the original movie. And then, I'm going to point out the inconsistencies that have to do with Snow White 2025. Granted, I haven't seen the remake. And I'm not going to. I refuse. I'm boycotting it. But it's been a very troubled production, and it's been well documented on the internet. So let's analyze it. How long has it been since you've watched the original Snow White? Is it sexist and outdated? So, let's crack into the Disney vault, shall we? You know the song. Hi ho, Hi ho. I'm off to review, let's go. Well. This is Ursula. It's now a film critic extraordinaire. Hey, Ursula. If she could be called Snow White, then that means I could be called Blood Red. Yeah. I think not, BB Kitty. So, let's start from the beginning of the alphabet. A is for animation. It took 3 years, $1.4 million, 750 artists, and roughly 2 million individual paintings to complete. They created the hand-drawn method of animation known as cell animation, the technique where artists draw or paint each frame on transparent sheets of plastic, or cells, and layer them over a static background. The illusion of movement is created, moving the cells slightly in between each frame, or take. David Hand was the supervising director. The sequencing directors were Percy Pierce, William Cottrell, Larry Moray, Wilfred Jackson, and Ben Sharpstein. They brought in European painters Albert Herder, who supervised the art direction, Gustav Tengren, and Ferdinand Horvath to contribute to the film's Germanic/Bavarian art direction. Joe Grant's major role was the design of the evil queen in hag form. The dwarfs' character designs were illustrated by Hamilton Luske, Mark Davis, and Walt Disney himself. Snow White was drawn by Luske and Davis. B for Brothers Grimm. Ted Sears and Richard Creedon wrote the script that was inspired by the Brothers Grimm tale Sneewittchen from Grimm's Fairy Tales, published in 1812. Do you know what their first names are? It's Jacob and Willem. It's funny how the script refers to future Disney films. The dwarves repeatedly say Jiminy Crickets as a swear.
Jiminy Crickets.
The Brothers Grimm version begins with a queen wishing her daughter had skin as white as snow, lips as red as blood, and hair as black as ebony. This description is quoted verbatim by the Magic Mirror in the beginning of the animated film.
Lips red as the rose, hair black as ebony, skin white as snow.
C is for Chris. Just kidding. C is for character. So, here's some of the biggest variations that Disney made to the original story. For starters, they gave the dwarfs names.
But let Walt Disney tell you about them himself.
Dwarfs' names fit their personalities.
They had singing, dancing characters, and somewhat anthropomorphized animal companions.
If you wear a dress and you have an animal sidekick, you're a princess.
Snow White is also older in the animated film than the original fairy tale. The inciting incident for the film is Snow White wishing for love by a wishing well, meeting and falling for a prince who overhears her singing. She says,
I'm wishing for the one I love to find me today.
It's a beautiful piece of hand-drawn animation because it's shot from the perspective of the well looking up at her through the water, and every time she sings, the water ripples. The film introduces the prince before the apple incident, too, not after, like in the Grimm's version. Adriana Caselotti voices Snow White, establishing a high standard for Disney princesses in the future. Her operatic vocals are comforting. Her dialogue delivery is calm and wholesome. She also delivers an incredible scream during the scary moments.
Goodbye.
Told ya. The magic mirror declares this.
Alas, she is more fair than thee.
So, the evil queen instructs the huntsman to kill her and return her heart in a jeweled box as proof. The huntsman, on the other hand, can't bring himself to do it and informs Snow White about the evil queen's intentions. She bolts into the forest immediately. While the heart is mentioned, it's never actually shown inside the box. Still, that's dark subject matter for a kids' movie. Lucille Laverne is the evil queen and the old hag, creating a memorable villain. Her strong vocal performance wonderfully captures the disdain of a woman consumed by jealousy. And she equally establishes high expectations for future Disney villains. Harry Stockwell plays the prince. Mooney Olsen plays the magic mirror. The huntsman is Stuart Buchanan. The roles may be small, but significant nonetheless, because of how they play their parts. The dark forest scene, which inspired the ride, is the most terrifying animation sequence put to film to this day. In the animated version, it's revealed that the heart inside the box is actually a boar's heart, not Snow White's.
The heart of a pig, the blundering fool.
In The Grimm's Tale, it's the same animal but different organs. The evil queen wants Snow White's lungs and liver returned, so that she leaving them to be her organs when she receives them. The evil queen orders the chef to roast them for her to devour them.
Cannibalism? In a kids' movie? Talk about dark.
Damn! Also in the Grimm's version, when Snow White discovers the dwarfs' tiny little cottage, she eats their food, she drinks their wine, and she just falls asleep. When they return home, they discover her in their beds. She's allowed to stay in exchange for a housemaid job. So it's the other way around. Pinto Colvig voices Sleepy and Grumpy.
But let Walt Disney tell you about them himself.
Dwarfs' names fit their personalities. And old Droopy Eyes is called Sleepy, and old Sourpuss here is Grumpy, the woman hater.
The latter undergoes the most significant character development. Initially, he resisted Snow White the most. He's won over by her kindness. He leads the charge against the evil queen when he finds out her nefarious plan. He was the first one to place flowers on Snow White's coffin, too, while crying. That moment broke me. I bawled like a baby when I saw that. As for the other dwarfs, Doc is Roy Atwell.
The pompous-looking individual is Doc, the self-appointed leader of the group.
Happy, Otis Harlan.
And Happy here with the beaming smile.
Bashful is Scotty Matraw.
And this little fellow is Bashful. He's secretly in love with Snow White.
Billy Gilbert is Sneezy.
And this funny face is Sneezy.
Fun fact, Walt Disney himself even admitted that Sneezy sneezes because he has hay fever. Who knew?
He has hay fever.
And Eddie Collins plays Dopey.
And last but not least is Dopey. He's nice, but sort of silly.
They all lend a distinct voice to their roles. Enough time is spent with them to fully understand them. Their temperaments are reflected in their representative personality traits, but they don't come off as one-dimensional either, since their bond is similar to brotherhood. Whether they're related or not is unknown. In the film, the famous Hi-Ho song is performed before the dwarfs find Snow White.
Hi-ho! Hi-ho!
She goes to sleep after cleaning up the house, while singing the classic song, Whistle While You Work.
Just whistle while you work.
both versions, the dwarfs find her sleeping, providing great foreshadowing. The dwarfs' washing song is an amusing moment where they're well characterized. And it just makes you want to go blah, 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 blah.
Snort and you snuff and go.
See? Told you. After dinner, the silly song, also known as the dwarfs' yodeling song, is performed. Then the titular princess sings "Someday My Prince Will Come," the big number of the film.
Someday my prince will come.
The timeless song about romance eloquently describes her deepest desires for love and to be loved and to have that reciprocation of love. In the Brothers Grimm's version, the evil queen disguises herself multiple times in order to harm Snow White. First, she uses a colorful, silky-laced corset that's bound so tightly it causes Snow White to faint. The dwarfs return home, loosening the laces to revive her. After that, she persuades Snow White to accept a secretly poisoned comb. While stroking her hair, she faints. Revived by the dwarves again when the comb is removed. Lastly, the evil queen offers a poisoned apple disguised as a farmer's wife. After Snow White bites it, she falls into a coma. But this time, the dwarves can't revive her. So they put her in a glass casket, because she was too beautiful to be buried. In the film, the evil queen is infuriated when she discovers that Snow White is still alive.
The heart of a pig, the blundering fool.
That's when she disguises herself as the old hag to deliver the poisoned apple. They only show one disguise in the film. And technically that disguise wasn't in the original story. I just want to take a second to point out the books that the evil queen has been reading. Have you ever noticed these books? Take a look right now. Wow! That's messed up. This results in putting Snow White into a death-like slumber called the Sleeping Death. Not to be confused with Metallica's Creeping Death. The evil queen also discovers that the curse can be broken by, quote, love's first kiss, end quote.
The victim of the sleeping death can be revived only by love's first kiss.
I always thought it was true love's first kiss. But I guess I was wrong. But she's certain that's not going to happen before she's buried. Just think about that. The evil queen's intent was to have Snow White buried alive. Again, that's dark subject matter for a kid's movie, eh? Furthermore, the animals see through the disguise, but are unable to warn Snow White. So, they go find the dwarfs instead. The evil queen only tried once to kill Snow White before she died by falling down a cliff after being struck by lightning and then crushed by a boulder. That was a truly shocking moment for me. I had totally forgotten about that death scene. Damn. Brutal. I also realized upon my rewatch how useful the dwarves are. They slay the witch. After her! And guard Snow White throughout time, since they can't bear the thought of burying her, because she's too beautiful. Ironically, her beauty is what saved her life. I love the murderous look the dwarves are given when they're chasing the evil queen. Look how pissed off they are. And then you know the story. The prince arrives, he kisses her, she rides with him into the sunset. And they live happily ever after. One thing that really bothered me upon rewatching, it's incredibly messed up that she just wakes up and then just leaves with the prince at the end of the film. You'd think that she would request to have her newfound friends, the dwarves, to be invited too, to come along with her to live in the castle. But no. She just wakes up. Alright, well, I'm going with him now. Bye. What? She doesn't even, spend one more night with them or something like that, or go back to her place to get some stuff or supplies, or I don't know. She just wakes up, leaves, and goes. I just thought that was messed up. Oh, what? That's so screwed up. She just leaves. Yeah. I wonder how the dwarves felt after that. They must have felt incredibly used and rejected. Wouldn't you? In Grimm's tale, the prince discovers the seemingly dead Snow White during a hunting trip. After hearing her story, he's permitted to return her to her father's palace. As Snow White is being carried back, a slave trips, dislodging a small portion of the poisoned apple from her throat, miraculously reviving her. That's when the prince proposes to her, which she graciously accepts. The prince invites everyone to return for the wedding, except the evil queen, who is still alive at this point in their story. She learns of their union, consuming her with a jealous rage. The prince discovers her plan and punishes her by making her dance in red-hot iron shoes until she dies. The happy wedding proceeds peacefully. Afterwards, they all live happily ever after. But at least that way, with her leaving the dwarfs, it's a little more understandable. It wasn't really her choice. The prince requested and the dwarves accepted, so it's different. I'm sure the dwarves felt much better after that scenario happened. Those poor Disney dwarves must feel awful, though. D is for David Hand Jr. He has openly criticized the remake as being disrespectful. His opinion holds a lot of weight, too, because that was the crowning achievement of his father's career. The studio wouldn't exist today if that movie had failed.
Just take a look at what he said to the Telegraph. He actually told them his father would be spitting in his grave over the live-action remake.
Which leads me to E, for economic prosperity. Arguably, this film built the House of Mouse. It was a commercial triumph, earning more than $8 million during its initial release, against a $1.5 million budget, making it the highest grossing film of 1938. And the cornerstone of the entire film studio. Fun fact, it was also the highest grossing film for the next 55 years. The profits helped fund the new studio in Burbank, California, which is still used today. It also set the framework for Disney's intellectual properties in numerous mediums, including Broadway musicals, apparel, toys, books, VHS and DVDs, video games, and theme park rides.
Well. I think we can all agree. The 2025 remake is not Snow White. It's Snow Shite. Ho ho ho.
F for female empowerment. I don't understand what all the fuss is about. How is the animated film problematic? I would argue the original is already a testament to female empowerment. Snow White takes charge of the dwarf's house when she moves in. She makes them wash up and clean up after themselves, because that place was a pigsty when she showed up. She runs that household by keeping them in line. She's a strong, independent young woman who responds immediately to the huntsman's warning. And all she wants is to be accepted by her overbearing stepmother. G for Gal Gadot. From now on, I'm going to refer to her as the G. She provoked calls for a boycott of the movie after expressing support for her native country in the aftermath of the October 7th terror attack. Pro-Palestinian and pro-Israel protesters both showed up when she received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. The G had an outspoken pro-Israel stance, creating tension so high that the studio reportedly scaled back its Los Angeles premiere in an apparent effort to keep a low profile. Yikes! That's unheard of, to silence your star like that in the public eye. Especially when the movie's just coming out. And I've recently found out that she did serve in the Israeli military. So she does have a right to speak about what's going on in the war. I mean, she lived through it. Because the G has apologized since then. Publicly. But I'm not here to talk about politics. This is about the movies. The G isn't the only Disney star to face criticism for their stance on the war. But I'll get to that. H for horror roots. While sanitized, the Disney film is much scarier than I remembered. It's well documented that Walt Disney recommended classic horror films, like the German expressionist Nosferatu from 1922, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari from 1920, to his film crew during production. The Evil Queen, transforming into the Old Hag, was influenced by Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde from 1931, which Disney specifically mentioned in many meetings. So, I'm officially declaring this version of Snow White a horror movie now. And you know what this means. Walt Disney himself was a horror nerd. Can you believe it? Fun fact. Gremlins from 1984 featured the film in that theater scene. And they loved it.
What are they doing? Watching Snow White. And they love it.
See? Told ya. I for independent female characters. Without Snow White, we wouldn't have the incredible lineup of independent Disney princesses like Cinderella, Aurora, Ariel, Belle, Nala, Rapunzel, Elsa, or Moana. Do you disagree that they're independent women? Wow. Who's sexist now? J for jaded, joyless remakes. At this point, they're obviously lackadaisical, blatant cash grabs. They really don't make movies like they used to, when artists were pushed to the creative brink. K for kerplunking box office. The Snow White remake made $87.3 million globally its opening weekend at the box office. Having under $100 million against a conflated $300 million budget, plus advertising, won't recoup their losses. Especially with bad word of mouth. They'll probably see decreases over the weekends. It's just not going to make its money back. Here's how it compares to other Disney live-action remakes at the box office. Hopefully, Disney learns the right lesson from this. L for Letterboxd. As of March 2025, the original Disney animated film is the oldest film to have joined the 1 million watched club on Letterboxd, surpassing the previous record holder of The Wizard of Oz, 1939. That's amazing. M is for music. The iconic songs were composed by Frank Churchill, Larry Money, Paul J. Smith, and Lee Harleen. Their template for the score for future Disney animated films is still put in use today, like solo songs that describe characters' desires, also known as want songs, duets, company/chorus numbers, showstoppers, action songs, ballads, and comedic songs, each serving a different purpose. It's the art of storytelling through sequential music, and they laid the foundation for it. N for negative online backlash. Again, I haven't seen it, and I won't. I'm boycotting it. However, many people have called for a boycott for the 2025 remake because Disney thinks you're stupid. The actors hate you and have no respect for the source material, both Walt Disney and the Brothers Grimm. There, I said it. And I feel so much better. O for Oscar. The year after its release, Walt Disney was given an honorary Oscar.
Kids movie?
The award statuette included one standard Oscar, as well as 7 other smaller statuettes, presented to him by Shirley Temple.
Kids movie?
P for Peter Dinklage. He spoke out publicly about the original, yet played a dwarf in Game of Thrones. This received a huge backlash from other dwarf actors. They spoke out against him.
He had no issue, absolutely no issue, being cast as a dwarf in Elf when he was representing that whole situation. That paycheck cleared just fine. When he was in Game of Thrones, he had absolutely no issue in that role.
Dinklage is rare that hasn't really done those types of roles, but at the same time, he was in Game of Thrones. He's also in the most offensive movie Too Little People ever made.
Tiptoes.
Tiptoes.
What's Tiptoes?
Oh.
He's also a hypocrite. And just going by his quote,
I was a little taken back by the they're very proud to cast a Latino actress as Snow White.
Yeah.
But you're still telling the story of Snow White.
Yeah.
7 Dwarfs.
Sure.
So take a step back and look at what you're doing there. It makes no sense to me. You're progressive in one way, but you're still making that fucking backward story of 7 dwarves living in a cave. What the fuck are you doing, man?
he doesn't remember the film correctly. By the way, the dwarves run their own jewel mine too. They're entrepreneurs and landowners. So, I'm confused. What stereotypes are you talking about, Peter Dinklage?
Have I done nothing to advance the cause from my soapbox? I guess I'm not loud enough. I don't know what studio that is, but they were so proud of that, and all love and respect to the actress and to the people who thought they were doing the right thing.
Do you even know what you're talking about?
They all had separate characteristics that really made themselves different from each other. They weren't just one being of dwarves.
Because right now there's more dwarves on this podcast than there are in the new Snow White movie. And that's probably due to Peter Dinklage.
Yep. And I've been taking stand for that.
Good man.
On TMZ.
And if you think about it, he just robbed 7 people at 7 jobs. That's not fair.
I'd be okay if these roles didn't exist as long as there were other roles for us to do, but there's not. So this is what we got to do, and until that time.
So where was Peter Dinklage when Lord of the Rings came out? It's funny how there's a controversy about the dwarves not being played by dwarf actors. Yet, when the Fellowship of the Ring came out, There was no public outcry about the hobbits being played by non-dwarf actors. Is Peter Dinklage bitter because he was denied being cast as one of the seven dwarfs in the 2025 remake? I wonder. Fun fact. In the Disney animated film, the dwarves are never actually referred to as dwarves. They call them little men.
Why, you're little men!
If you ask me, I think Disney should get back on the horse. Or, should I say, back on the dwarfs. Yeah.
Q for questionable choices. Not just from a writing standpoint as far as the remake goes. I'm talking about real life questionable choices. The cast has been at odds on social media, saying unconventional things about each other, politics, and the classic fairy tale. Also, Disney actually did listen to Dinklage, which caused the production to be prolonged for the remake. R for rudimentary rhetoric. The basic or foundational principles learn to use and practice the art of persuasive communication. Essentially, it's the study and the use of written, spoken, and visual language to organize and maintain social groups, construct meanings and identities, coordinate behavior, mediate power, produce change, and create knowledge. The cast could learn from this based on their behavior. S for storytelling. Walt Disney understood what made a story compelling by making the audience feel emotions for what's been presented to them. He has stated why he chose Snow White. Here's what he said.
It's the thing I remembered as a kid. I saw Marguerite Clark in it in Kansas City one time when I was a newsboy. They had a big showing for all the newsboys, and I went and saw Snow White. It's probably one of my first big feature pictures I'd ever seen. Anyway, to me, I thought it was a perfect story. I had the heavy, I had the prince, I had the girl, the romance, I had the sympathetic dwarfs.
T for test of time. The legacy of the Disney 1937 animated film is undeniable. The film single-handedly started several Disney traditions, like the introduction storybook scene, the structure of the animated musical as we know it, the superb synchronization of movement to music, singing, dancing characters, the Disney princess accompanied by anthropomorphized animals, and the death of a Disney villain by a freefall. Beyond that, the theme of vanity won't get you far, but kindness will, is a wholesome message, still relevant today because it's inherently true. Kindness isn't weakness. In the face of adversity, it can be used as a strength. U for unconditional love. I don't care who you are. Gay, lesbian, bi, straight. The fact remains. We all need to feel love. We yearn to love and to be loved. We all feel love. It's a fundamental part of life. For someone of either gender to say they don't need half the population of Earth is just plain ignorant. The love story isn't even the main focus of the animated film. It's about Snow White's friendship with the dwarves, her connection with them. The prince and her barely interact. She makes a wish at a well in the beginning and the prince miraculously shows up. Is a scorned person yearning to be loved really a bad thing? I think People need to stop contextualizing previous time periods. There's a reason there's a saying, it was a different time. Yeah, times have changed now, but when this came out, things were completely different than they are now. It's essential to consider the film's historical context. In 1937, traditional gender roles were more deeply ingrained in society. I would argue that judging a film by contemporary feminist standards is anachronistic and unfair. V for vanity. Ironically, the stars of the 2025 remake didn't get the core theme of the animated original film. W for way too woke. It's a shame because so many people worked so hard on Snow White 2025, and these actors are ruining it for everyone by defecating on the legacy of the original film with skewed views of reality. X for X-ray vision. So, my older brother told me an anecdote about how even his daughter, who loves Disney princesses so much that the last time he took her to Disneyland, she bought 3 separate princess dresses to wear. She was not interested in going to the 2025 remake. Even the target demographic sees through what Disney is doing to their precious catalog of films. They're just mining it for content now, much like how the dwarves mine for gemstones. Why? Yes. Why indeed? Now you're asking the right question. You know, aside from the obvious answer. Greed. Z. For Zegler. That's right. Rachel Zegler. I told you I was getting to her. But from now on, I'm referring to her as the Z. This is what she said about the original film.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird. Super weird. So we didn't do that this time.
She made it sound like the remake has no romance.
It's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful. And whether or not she finds love along the way is anybody's guess until 2024.
And after everything else that she said online, and everything going on with the G, I wonder to myself, how can someone be so reprehensible? I mean, she was the worst part of the West Side Story remake. And she's not even that big of a star. She's fairly new to the game, so she has no room to talk. I say when actors get political online, especially when nobody asks their opinion. Nobody cares about your political views. We just care about your work. Well, I don't care about your work, but hey, to each their own. I wonder, can the Z even locate Germany on a map? She'd probably want to change the name to Hermione. Furthermore, I don't agree with the casting. It just doesn't make any sense. This fairy tale took place in Germany, back in the 1800s. Side note, have you noticed that most of the recasting has been targeted toward ginger girls too? There was Annie, there was Mary Jane Watson from Spider-Man, April O'Neil from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Ariel from A Little Mermaid. What's with that? Is it just me? Or is that weird? If it was the other way around, it'd be considered racist. Fun fact, women love romance. And some of them want their partners to act romantic towards them. I know, shocking. I hope you were sitting down for that.
mirror on the wall. Who's the fluffiest of them all? Meow, 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 meow.
My name Stitch. Oh, so cute and fluffy.
Stitch? Who the fluff is Stitch? More like Stitch the put.
Overall, it had been so long since I've seen Snow White 1937 that the rewatch felt like the first time watching it. I truly believe this is one of the greatest movies ever made because of how influential it's been to pop culture. As for Snow White 2025, these are the reasons why I choose to boycott it. And there's other Disney remakes that I haven't seen because I chose to boycott those, like Mulan and Cinderella and Mufasa, which I guess you can consider as a live-action remake, but that's gray territory. Whatever. I'm not watching it. I implore you, please, watch the original Snow White from 1937. Give it another chance. You might be surprised. It's just so charming and whimsical and delightful. With scary moments, too. I couldn't believe how scary it was. And please don't watch the 2025 remake. Join me in this effort, and hopefully Disney learns the right lesson. I also want to add, I'm not entirely opposed to having a live-action remake of Snow White. One of my personal favorites is Mirror Mirror from 2012. So I highly recommend that instead of watching the 2025 remake. It's so good. And remember, this is just my opinion. So don't get your poison apples in a bunch. So, my official grade for Snow White 1937 is an extra, extra, extra large popcorn. With 7 extra large mugs of German beer on the side. In fact, I'm going to make it official. This film gets my seal of approval as one of Mr. FLIXTER's greatest films of all time. Congratulations, Snow White.
Thank you for watching. Won't you please like and subscribe? Please and thank you. If someone offends you, don't be afraid to say, hey, love you too. Yeah.
Did you know that I'm a film critic for HorrorBuzz.com? You can read my reviews on their website, and I make frequent appearances on their YouTube channel, HorrorBuzz Live, so I'll leave links below for that too.
Go.